and obviously I don't know what I'm doing, but I keep getting all kinds of error messages and stuff. So I don't really know what's going on, and we'll just go live here by myself and talk about that, and maybe you YouTube experts out there can help me out and tell me what I'm doing wrong because I don't know. But it's like a lot of things in life. We enter into something maybe with some apprehension or maybe with some confidence. And then we find out we don't know what the heck we're doing. And then maybe we're not so confident anymore. Well, there we go, Fox Finding Life. Good morning. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hitting that like. I really appreciate that. And I was trying to go live with Michael Lee White. Usually I go live with him streaming. I'm trying to stream this time, but having all kinds of problems with it. I don't know what's going on, if it's my phone. I tried to restart it. I tried to restart YouTube. I did all kinds of stuff with it, but I just can't seem to figure that out. So we'll just stay on here live for a little bit and see if people can come on here and give me a hand and see what's going on. I went live earlier, no problems. And I don't know if I did something in the system or what I did. Hi, Scott. Welcome back. Michael, thank you. Appreciate it. Still, I was just explaining to Michael the problems that I was having here. Even starting this live stream, it gave me an error message. Said error starting the stream, and then I hit next again, and it did the countdown and brought me in. But for some reason, when I go to send Michael the link to join my live, I send it and everything, but it won't take me back and it won't start the live stream. So I don't know what's going on with that. We'll try to figure it out at a later date, but I just wanted to come on and explain that to everybody and let you know what's going on with that. But having said that, I was on earlier. It's a little later now. Let me see, what time is it right now here? Yeah, 9:42 here in Batangas, the Philippines, and looks like it's going to be a fairly decent day. I think it might cloud over later, but it looks like it's going to be a fairly decent day. I might be able to get some stuff done, get some more packing done, and prepare more for my move, because that's what I got going on right now, and that's what I've been thinking about a lot. But now I'm going to be thinking about YouTube all day and try to figure out what the heck's going on with this live streaming and what's going on with my phone and what's going on with YouTube there, because I don't get it. Now, fellas and girls, if you're on there, I'm showing down the bottom of my screen. Let me check this out. Hold on. Bear with me. No, I don't want to do that. And then I got a plus, and then I got looks like a forward. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, give me some feedback. Are you hearing me okay? Because I'm not using my mic or anything. I don't know what happened with all my equipment either. Something happened overnight while I was sleeping. The gremlins came in here and playing around with all my gear, I guess. But thank you, Scott. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I'm showing 5, but that's all right. And it sounds good. Thank you so much for that. I'm just using my straight up phone. And, this phone's supposed to be state of the art, so hopefully, apparently it's working, so that's good. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that. And I'm showing 8 people now, so those of you that popped in on the live stream, welcome. Or I'm just sitting here whining and complaining about my problems with streaming and trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong, because normally, when you're dealing with computers and stuff like that, usually it's human error that causes the problem, not usually the machine. Sometimes it's the machine, but by and large it's usually human error. And if you're dealing with me, it's definitely going to be my error probably, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with my shortcomings. It's no problem at all. But since we're on here, let's talk about something. What do we want to talk about? I got rid of that Jeep I was saying earlier, and these guys showed up. I'll tell you a little more about that story. That was funny yesterday. They showed up and to pick up my Jeep, which is one of the larger owner type Jeeps, stainless steel, very heavy. And, excuse me, that's that beautiful San Juan air that we breathe. That might have been who knows what that was. But anyway, hey James, welcome. Frog eater? Yeah, been there, done that. Welcome. Anyway, they showed up with this little Mitsubishi car, this little sedan, and they want to pull my Jeep. And I looked at these two guys, Filipino guys, real nice fellas. And of course, my ex was there because she was the one who's heading up this deal. And I had told him, don't bring a little car, bring a pickup truck. But they're not going to listen to the foreigner. They're going to do what they're comfortable with doing. And so be it. They know what they're doing. I have to make that assumption. And I said, you got a tow bar? Yeah, they brought out this bent tow bar. It was all bent up, but I'm like, hey, more power to you. I hope it works out. I hope nobody gets hurt. And about that time, the clouds were rolling in. It was getting ready to rain. But I pushed the Jeep out from the parking bay. I have it in here at my house. Got it out on the street. And we started it up and got it all lined up. And they hooked it up with that tow bar. And they looked at the clouds. And they're like, it's going to rain. I said, yeah, no. And he's like, well, where's the cover, the plastic covers for over the door openings? I'm like, nah, I don't have anything like that. He was trying to put on the covers from the back section of the Jeep. I said, that's not going to work, my friend. Kuya, you're going to have to try something else. And I said, hold on, maybe I got a plastic bag. Went inside my house. Yeah, I got plastic bags, but, they're about this big. I said, well, that's not going to work. So I went and got this old tarp I had, all dirty and nasty. I said, hey, man, this is really dirty, but you're welcome to use it. I don't want it anymore anyway. He said, okay, thank you. And I said, I think you're going to get wet. And then they got in the car, and said bye to all of them. And I told both of them, I said, you guys need to go slow. And I said, that this Jeep is going to push that car every time you try to stop. Any of you that have towed a vehicle or towed a camper, that especially if it doesn't have power-assisted brakes or whatever, you know what I'm talking about a vehicle pushing you. I remember years ago hauling a U-Haul, my first time, and I loaded that 4x8 U-Haul trailer down, and yeah, I remember it pushing my little Ford Escort. Anybody remember those vehicles? That little Ford Escort, the old style, the boxy style when they first came out. And so I was warning them about that. So they started out slow. Just as soon as they pulled away from the house, the rain started coming down. And I'm like, oh yeah, buddy, y'all gonna get wet. I'm like, bye, y'all gonna get wet. Started laughing. But I, being a little bit selfish in my thinking, I was just like, you know what? That Jeep is not my problem anymore. Not my problem. That's their problem. But, being the nice guy that I try to be, I message the ex, everyone, hey, you guys all right? You guys all right? Everybody's safe? Anyway, that was like, what time was that? Later in the afternoon? They didn't finally get back up to her place. It was like almost 10:30 at night. And I'm like, well, at least you made it. Well, we were driving so slow. I'm like, well, good. You need to be driving slow with that little tiny car pulling that big. I mean, the Jeep was bigger than their car. And I'm just like, hey, that's, once you leave out of my sight, that's on you. That is on you. It's not the Colonel's problem anymore. So we'll see. They made it. We'll see what happens from here. I don't know. I don't really care what happens with it anymore. I didn't pay next to nothing for it anyway. And I had fun with it, rewiring it, teaching myself how to do auto wiring and things like that. I learned quite a bit. I'd never done that before in my life, but I'm a self-taught man, so that's what I did. I got on YouTube like everybody else, and I must have watched this one video 100 times. That guy, I boosted his channel big time for him, I guess. But you find the information you need, and you learn how to do it, and you figure it out. We can't all be as smart as Michael Lee White when it comes to knowing how to wire everything up and solder this and, getting electricity from a turnip or a potato or however he does it. I'm not quite sure. But he explains it to me, but he loses me after about the second or third sentence, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay, let's talk about prison. or something like that, But anyway, it's the same thing with my son. My son's a mechanical engineer, and I started asking him, hey, what do how you figure this out? What are you doing? And he starts explaining, this is what I'm doing, Dad. He starts explaining it. I'm like, whoa, hold on. I'm fairly intelligent, but you started losing me after the third sentence. Just put this in layman's terms for you, or people that are unintelligent. And he starts laughing at me, and I'm just like, you know what? Never mind. You're doing good in your job, right? Yeah, I'm doing good, Dad. Okay, that's all I need to know. I don't need to know exactly what you're doing. But yeah, Michael, when am I actually leaving for Elo? That's a very good question, and it's a well-kept secret. I'm not really telling anybody exactly when, but the bottom line is this: when I get everything packed up and I contact one of the whatever moving company or truck, basically box truck that I'm going to use, I'm not liking any of their quotes that they're giving me. But whatever box truck I use, they want to see a picture of all my stuff because they didn't like my estimated weight that I gave them. And I guess they figure looking at it, they can figure out the weight more than I can by looking at it. And that's fine, up to them. And so as soon as I get everything packed up, I'll be out of here. I wasn't planning on heading out until after the 19th. But, if I get everything packed up and I'm just eating out of restaurants and stuff all the time because everything's packed up, then I might just call and say, hey, let's go now and not wait for the 19th. And I'll settle up with my homeowner on the electric bill after the fact. And I've already talked to them about that. They're good people and they understand and they know what's going on. I'm paid up through the 15th of November, really. So if I leave early, they'll just be giving me more money back and what have you. We worked all that out. And, that's the best thing to do when you're renting. Like I've been renting for years now. I never rented in the U.S. except when I was young and in the military. But, once I started buying houses, I never rented again until I went to Thailand. Then I started renting. And, of course, I always get that over here. Colonel, why don't you buy a house? Why don't you buy land? Well, because I'm single, And I don't have anybody yet that I'm willing here in the Philippines to buy land for or to build a house for. When I get to that point, yeah, I'll do it. But I just don't feel like doing it. And plus, you got to have capital if you want to lay a lump sum down or something. Because I prefer cash over here. And I'd rather have all my money for something and instead of going into debt. Got enough debt in America. Why do I want to get debt in the Philippines? Whether you can or not, they probably wouldn't even give it to me. But, when I get to the point where I have somebody whose name I can put property in or build a house in, and I'm comfortable with doing that, because if you're not comfortable, don't do it. Don't do it. I've been there, I've done it, but I was comfortable at the time until I wasn't comfortable, and then I regretted doing it. But, you got to be willing to, when you're in Southeast Asia, whatever money you spend, you got to be willing to walk away from it as soon as it leaves your hand, because it's gone. And if you're not comfortable with that, then you need to do something different in life. But for me, whenever I built a house like in Thailand or whatever, spent money on the farm, because I had a big farm for a while over there. And you know what? I knew when I was spending the money, hey, this is, once it leaves my hand, it's not my money anymore. And really none of this stuff is mine. I get to use it while I'm here and while I'm alive. But honestly, you got to be willing to walk away from it any day. Because when I found out that individual was cheating on me and everything, I walked away. I took all my tools with me. I took my pickup truck. I took my motorbike. But I walked away from everything else. That's just what you got to do. You got to be willing to do it. If you're not willing to walk away from your money or give up your money that you're spending on people or things, don't come over here to Southeast Asia or any other country. Just be aware that not everybody out there is going to do right by you, even though you do right by them. And when you lose money, you lose money. It's just money. You can't take it with you when you die. Hey, Sergeant USA, welcome to the channel. Appreciate you being here. Let's go back. Nikki Evans, hello. Welcome to the channel. Just trying to figure out, I'm just doing my usual rambling about anything and everything and whatever. And we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. What do you have going on there, Nikki? Where are you at right now? Yeah, you're very welcome. Are you here in the Philippines or are you somewhere else? I'll try to remember when you guys tell me where you're from, but my memory's awful. I don't have Alzheimer's yet, but I got what you call sometimers. Sometimers, sometimes I remember things, sometimes I don't. And that's just the way it is. And it's all good. I'm just happy that I remember to, get dressed in the morning, take a shower. Yeah, Michael's from Masbate. Yeah, I can't wait to get over there and just visit. I don't know, he says I'm going to be living there, and I very well may be, but there's going to have to be some things to occur for me to move and live in Masbate. And, I like to have rustic living, but I'm not quite sure I'm ready for that rustic yet. Been there and done that in Thailand for a bit when I lived out. I didn't live in the village, I lived outside the village when I had that farm. But I had a place in town that I slept at nighttime because I had no electricity except for my generator at the farm in Thailand. Are you planning to stay in the Philippines or go back to Thailand? That's from Kim David. Is it Mandao? Mandao? I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. I apologize for that sincerely. No, I'm staying in the Philippines. I love it here. Right now I'm single, and I got people that love me, but I choose to be single. And right now, I love the Philippines. And honestly, I had a good life in Thailand. I had a house that I was renting right on the beach, literally, basically right on the beach. I had a macadam street separating, my plot from the beach, but basically, 100 feet from my house, I was at water's edge when the tide was in. So I had a good place there. But, I was lonely. And, yeah, I think of that sketch with Ron White. But anyway, are you lonely? But anyway, my deal with where I was living in Thailand is basically the Thai people wouldn't really give me the time of day where I was at. And I didn't really have any foreign friends in that area, even though there were foreigners there. I'm not a bar person, and unless you're sitting at the bar, they don't want to talk to you. So I'm like, hey, that's fine. I can be alone, no problem. I do my things. I build things. I weld steel together, and, made some tables and basically fixed up that dirty kitchen, which they don't call it that, but their outside kitchen there in Thailand. I fixed that up for the homeowners. And but anyway, I visited the Philippines to see an American friend of mine who was visiting his fiance for the first time. And or maybe she wasn't his fiance till he got here. I don't know, but she was an overseas worker, and overseas foreign worker, and she was coming back on a break, so he came to the Philippines, and he was supposed to come to Thailand with her to visit me, but that never materialized. And I told him, hey, don't worry about it. How about I just come to the Philippines, ask her if it's okay if I come visit you, and that's what I did. So I went up there to the Bulacan area, and just walked around with him. Hadn't seen him in about 9 years, so that was really nice. And the Filipino people there come up and talk to us because he's a big dude, and we probably look like, what is that, Lauren? I don't know. I'm a little short. He's just taller than me, a lot taller. He's 6'2". I'm 5'7". And we're just walking around. We were walking to Walter Mart one day, or maybe I was by myself that day, and I had a gentleman come up about my age, maybe a little bit younger than me, and just start talking to me about everything in the world, his church, his life, where I'm from, the usual questions. But we talked for about 35 minutes, and I enjoyed it. I think I talked about this on one of my other videos. And I just decided, why am I living in Thailand where I can't talk to anybody since I love to talk too much, when I can come to the Philippines and I can talk to people if they want to talk to me. In Thailand, I wanted to talk to people, but, they're just looking at me like, huh? What? Huh? What? Mike Kao Jai, Mike Kao Jai. Yeah, I know, Mike Kao Jai too. I don't understand either. So it got old after a while, and you start realizing when you live in a country long enough and you've seen the good and the bad, you start seeing through, all the stuff that's true and stuff that's not true. And you start to realize the realities of certain things about being a foreigner in a foreign country. And a lot of it, though, is your attitude and how you deal with it. Let me catch up with some of these messages. I'm sorry if I'm neglecting you. And here we go. Let's go. Where are we at? Live in Cleveland, Tennessee. All right. Yeah, Mike. Yep. Yeah, I'm staying in the Philippines, Kim. And Jason Potter, we finally got it. Chief, good morning, or whatever it is there. Hello to you, sir, and welcome. My sometimers is becoming all the time. Sergeant, you know, I don't want to really put that out there public yet, but it might be getting there for me too. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, putting the plug in there. Like and subscribe, folks, if you don't mind. And let's see. Hello to everybody there. Mike saying hello to everyone. Jason Potter, good morning. Yep. Michael, can you please grow me a red horse tree? Now, I tell you what, Michael Lee White's a very talented individual, and he's got a lot going on for him. He's got a lot going on in his brain, you know, and I know if I've been thinking, I know he's been thinking twice as much as I am, but I surely don't know about that red horse tree, Chief. If you come up with that, Mike, I want to see it. And I'll tell you what, without photos or video, it didn't happen, brother. So you can say you did it, but without photos, I know what's going to happen now. AI is going to take over. He's going to show me a tree with red horse growing on it. And that's all good. We'll get a good laugh out of it. But that's funny. I just wonder what you would water a red horse tree. If you would water that with red horse, or if you would water that with mule. I don't know. Let me know, Mike, how all that works out for you. Oh, my goodness. You all might not think I'm funny, but as long as I'm laughing at myself, I'm comfortable with it. It's all good. Let's see. Kim David.